Hi, you guys. It's Yaz, and today I'm going to talk about 6 signs you're healing from narcissistic abuse. How do you even know that you're healing from narcissistic abuse? Well, I'm going to give you those 6 signs that are going to give you clues that you are starting to heal. Number 1 sign that you're starting to heal from narcissistic abuse is that your anger is starting to diminish. See, when you break up with a narcissist, you have a whole host of emotions that go through you. First, you're in shock. You don't even know what happened. Here was a person that you thought would never walk out of your life, or, you thought they would be with you forever, or maybe you had to do a reverse discard and get rid of them. Your whole fantasy was crushed. You're in shock. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to feel sadness, right? You're going to be sad about everything. You're going to mourn the relationship. Then you're going to start to feel feelings of anger and revenge. A lot of people are angry. They feel like they got played by this person. It starts to become clearer and clearer, like that person just came in, used you for something, and went on their way. So a lot of people are angry at themselves. Like, how could I ever let this person get over on me? How could I ever have believed their lies? Well, it's because you didn't know, and you have to forgive yourself for that. You had no way of knowing at the time, all right? Because at the time, you weren't aware of narcissistic abuse, or you ignored the red flags. So you had no idea of knowing who you were dealing with. So that anger that you have is going to be with you for a while. Anybody that tells you that goes, disappears overnight or really quickly is lying to you. It takes time. Time heals almost all wounds, okay? So as time goes by, you're going to think about the narcissist less and less because you're going to get busy within your own life. A lot of times when people reminisce about the narcissist, it's because they still don't see the narcissist for who they are, okay? And that means that they need to do more soul searching. They need to do more education to really see who that person is. They need to write it down on a piece of paper, all the wicked things that narcissist did to them. And every time they sit there and they reminisce and they think about that narcissist, they got to look at that piece of paper and remind themselves that this person, was not who they thought they were. Because you're stuck in what we call, a trauma bond. And you have this cognitive dissonance where you're thinking about the good times with the person. You're not seeing the ugly part of the person, all right? You saw the ugly part at the end, but you're still trying to get that person from the beginning. And that person from the beginning didn't exist, all right? It was either calculated, or maybe they were, they built you up in their mind to think that you were something different. And then narcissists tore you down because they're critical, judgmental. They're never all in. So your anger, you're going to have this extreme amount of anger. And as time goes by, that anger is going to start to turn to, you're going to turn indifferent. You're going to start to get tired of being angry. All right. I know that's hard to believe, but you're going to get tired of being angry, and you're going to start to say, I really don't care anymore. All right. I really don't care. I'm past this nonsense in my life. It happened. Nobody's happy about it happening. But the anger is going to get, it's going to subside a little bit in you, all right? You're going to be a little calmer, and, you're not going to be like ready to go, seek revenge on them as much, because now you get to a point where you're like, I really don't care. They're not even worth my time, all right? That's how you're going to feel. You're going to start to feel like, what? This person isn't even worth my time, all right? Because now time has gone by. You've gotten busier with your own life. Maybe you met somebody new. Maybe you didn't meet somebody new. But you're getting used to living without the narcissist. And you start to realize that, there's more to life than the narcissist. All right? There's more to life than the narcissist. So you start to separate a little bit, and you get used to your new life. All right? And that's how you know you're starting to heal, because you're starting to be okay with being alone. Next, all right, sign that you are healing from the narcissistic abuse is you're no longer checking their social media. See, in the beginning, you're so blindsided. The first thing you're going to do is go check their social media and see what's going on with them. All right. Because you're curious, like, why did they just discard me like that? Or why did I have to discard them? What's going on? All right. Because the narcissist leaves you in the dark and you're trying to get answers. You're trying to figure out where did I go wrong in this relationship? How did this go left? Was it something what's going on with the narcissist? So what do? You constantly check in their social media. You're watching to see if that narcissist is posting pictures of somebody new or if they're posting pictures of themselves out. Where is the narcissist, right? Are they out? Are they partying? Are they sad? Are they depressed? You want to feel like that narcissist is suffering the way you're suffering. But a lot of times they're not suffering, you guys, because they were never all in and they have replaced you. I'm sorry to tell you, but that's that's just a reality of it, because you put all your eggs in their basket, but they didn't put all their eggs in your basket. And that's, you don't realize that till down the road when you see, that they had somebody else a lot of times. So in the beginning, when you first go through that breakup, you're going to be checking their social media. And, as time goes by, you're not going to be checking their social media as much. It's going to diminish because you're going to get tired of it. You may end up seeing them with the new supply and that hurt will be there. But then you're going to get tired of it and be like, you know what? Who cares who they go with? Like better them than me. Because in time, you're educating yourself. You're realizing that they are toxic and you're starting to feel relieved. Like, thank God I'm not dealing with them, right? Or it might just be too painful and you just don't want to see it, all right? Or you might be busy with other things. Now you have things going on. Maybe you're networking. Maybe you're hanging out with other friends. So, the narcissist becomes less and less importance. So another sign that you're healing from narcissistic abuse is you don't feel that impulse to always have to run and check their social media. You don't care, okay? You get to that point where you just don't care. They don't mean anything anymore. And you realize that this is a waste of your time, all right? This is a waste of your time. Next sign that you are healing from narcissistic abuse is that you finally see the narcissist for who they are, okay? In the beginning, they future faked you. They built up a fantasy in your head. They made you think that you were going to have this wonderful life with them. They molded themselves into the perfect partner. They came into your life, portrayed themselves as your hero when really they're your nightmare. And now the reality is starting to set in. And you're starting to see that they're not this nice, kind person. They're not this generous person. They're not this person that said they would love you unconditionally. You're starting to see that you're dealing with a narcissist, a toxic person. You're educating yourself. You're realizing that all the little tricks that they did by blame shifting on you, you're starting to educate yourself on gaslighting. Now you know that when they were saying they don't remember or it's all in your head, this is all forms of gaslighting. And now you're recognizing, hey, it's not me. I was dealing with a toxic person. Now, the narcissist is no longer up on a pedestal. Now the narcissist is coming down and you're starting to see them for the toxic, corrupt, vicious, cruel person that they were, okay? And it takes time, like I said, and education to start to realize what you went through. It takes understanding. Understand why the narcissist did what they did. They don't think like you, okay? So education is key to understanding the narcissist and why they did what they did, all right? And it's not it's not something personal that they say, oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to hurt you or something. No. They're not thinking about you. They're thinking of themselves and what's going to benefit them. And you, unfortunately, were a casualty along the way, all right? So you're going to know that you're starting to heal when you no longer idolize the narcissist and you realize that, hey, they're not so great, all right? Matter of fact, as time goes by, you're going to look back and you're actually going to be disgusted. And you're going to say to yourself, I don't know how the hell I got involved with that. This is what I look back on the narcissist that I dealt with. I say to myself, how the hell did I ever give this person the time of day? And then I realized I was vulnerable at the time. They got me when I was vulnerable, when I was going through a lot, dealing with autistic kids and dealing with behaviors and trauma of autism and all of that. And the narcissist came along, painted their picture like they were going to be the angel of light and, be my happiness and make me happy and help me out and everything like that. But then when I look back on things, I say to myself, I was vulnerable, right? But if I were even my best friend from Chicago told me that. I said, I can't believe I let this person treat me the way they treated me. And he said, it's because you were vulnerable at the time. He said, because I know if it was right now, you would never give that person the time of day. Never. All right. And that is the truth. And that's the realization that you're going to have. You're going to look back and say, I will never give this person the time of day. They're not even worth, the dirt on the bottom of my shoes. They're not worth anything. Right. So you got to forgive yourself because you were vulnerable and you didn't see them for who they were. But now you see them for who they are, okay? And now you realize the fantasy is gone and the reality has set in that this person is not who you thought they were, okay? And that they weren't great. You could have been lusting after the narcissist, and it was all a lust thing. So many people, you guys, so many people that I coach, it's not a love thing, it was a lust thing. They were lusting after the narcissist. That's all it was. Because the character of the narcissist is lousy. They have horrible character. They're rude, they're critical, they're sarcastic, they're judgmental. What is there to love about that? They're cold. They're not intimate. What is there to love about that? Absolutely nothing. You know what you were doing? You were lusting after that narcissist. Most people were lusting, all right? Or you were believing the big future fake fantasy and you thought that was going to bring you happiness. But now the reality has set in. You're taking a step back. You're giving yourself time and you say to yourself, this person is not who I thought they were. As a matter of fact, they actually revolt me, okay? They actually revolt me. It was just that I was missing something within myself that I allowed this person to walk into my life. And I was vulnerable and I trusted too soon. That's another thing. You guys, you trust too soon. Next sign, you are healing from narcissistic abuse. You're more at peace, okay? The anxiety has started to subside. You're able to relax in your home. You're able to watch a movie and enjoy it. You're not dealing with the stress of the narcissist and walking on eggshells anymore. Your health is starting to improve. Maybe you started to have panic attacks all the time because the narcissist is a nervous wreck, and they're going to make you a nervous wreck. And what's that going to do? That's going to cause you to be a nervous wreck, and that's going to cause you to have health problems. It could cause you to have thyroid problems, heart disease, high blood pressure, all that cortisol. And now you go to the doctor, and guess what? You're getting a better bill of health. A lot of people are getting a better bill of health because they're starting to let go of all that stress and anxiety. They're starting to let it go, all right? Part of healing is being able to let go. It doesn't mean you forgive them. You don't have to forgive the narcissist, all right? But you let go in order to heal yourself. And that just means the way you forgive yourself and heal is to distance yourself from the narcissist, all right? Your karma to the narcissist is the fact that you will never, ever give them another minute of your time, all right? That's your revenge on the narcissist. That's your piece of what you went through, is the fact that this person had somebody who was loyal, good, with a pure heart, and they stepped on it. But guess what? That loyal, pure-hearted person will never, ever give them another minute of their time. And that's what gives you your peace. And that's how you know that you're healing now, because you're not letting them get to you, and you feel better. You start to feel better, okay? And maybe your health is getting better. Maybe you were losing your hair because of the stress with the narcissist. Now your hair is coming in fuller. Maybe your skin is looking better, all right? Because you're getting more sleep, because you're not living with that toxic narcissist that keeps accusing you of everything they're doing, all right? So you're healing, all right? You're looking better, you're feeling better, you're at peace, all right? Moving along, I got to get through this because I have to, I'm running now, you guys. The other way that you know that you are healing from narcissistic abuse is that you no longer care what the narcissist says. They're smearing. You couldn't give a rat's ass what the narcissist says about you anymore, because now you realize you've got your power, and you realize that anything the narcissist says doesn't mean shit, because they are shit, all right? So go talk your talk behind my back. I couldn't care less, because look at where it's coming from. When you start to not care about the smear campaign, and you don't care anymore what they're saying, that's when you know you're starting to heal, all right? Next point, and the last point that I want to bring about as to knowing whether you are healing from narcissistic abuse is that you no longer are living in the fantasy. The bubble has burst, all right? The bubble has burst. You're no longer trauma bonded. You're not sitting there and reminiscing about the good times with the narcissist, because it has sunk into your brain that all of those good times were not real, okay? Were not real. That the intent of the good time was not the same intent that you had. You went in thinking that you were getting to know this person and that you were going to build a life with them. The narcissist went in as, the good time Charlie, to have a good time, get the supply, and get out. So now you look back and you look at those good times and everything, and you realize it wasn't what you thought, okay? You may have had a lot of laughs, you may have had good sex, but it was not the connection that you thought. The realization is coming in. You're starting to realize that they're not your soulmate, and that, there was no sincerity with that person, because you're realizing that if it was sincerity, they would not have treated you the way they did. They would have not discarded you the way they did if it was real and it was authentic. They would have not shown you no empathy when you were sad and you were upset. That is not love. A person who loves you will care when you're upset. They didn't care. So all of those signs of lovey-doveyness and caring were not sincere. That's the best word. It was not sincere. They were just going with the flow to get whatever they could get out of you, and that was it. Again, I can't say it enough. Go listen to my podcast about the intent of the narcissist, because I lay it down in there, all right? A lot of people don't realize the intent of the narcissist was not the same intent you had, okay? So you're going to realize that all of that love bubble stuff, all of that trauma bond, where those little nuggets of niceness that they gave to you was all manipulation to draw you back in. That's all it was. That's all it was. It wasn't because they were sorry for hurting you and all of a sudden they got nice, all right? It was because they saw you pulling away and they wanted to draw you back in so that they could still use you. But now you see it for what it is. You see the manipulation and you realize they weren't who you thought they were. And the fantasy that you had was just that. It was a fantasy. It wasn't real. Okay? So I hope that helps you. If it does, hit the subscribe button, share the podcast. If you're looking for confidential one-on-one phone coaching, I have limited time, you guys. A matter of fact, I don't even know how much longer I could do coaching because I'm so busy with another 2 projects that I got going on. And I'm also writing another book. So you guys, if you're looking for coaching, check out the link in the bio. AskYaz.wixsite.com/thegameexposed. My YouTube is the Game Exposed podcast. TikTok is the Game Exposed. I have a new Facebook page, the Game EXP 777, and Instagram is the Game EXP 123. And have a great day, you guys. Don't leave the narcissist in the past and just move forward.